Hi everybody, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, today we have the story of a gentleman who woke up in his house only to find a ship parked feet from his house on land. Literally feet. We also have a story of a couple from Britain who tried to sneak out on a bill and were arrested at the airport trying to sneak out of a cruise ship bill that they owed. Celebrity Cruise Line has an outbreak on one of their cruise ships, and there is a warning going out to passengers on the Carnival Pride. Their voyages journey to Greenland. Yeah, there might be some things getting in the way. Of all things this time of year, ice. So a gentleman woke up, looked out his window, and lo and behold, what did he see? A container ship. Now that doesn't sound crazy, right? People living along the shore of Norway are most likely to see container ships. But they're not likely to see container ships parked beside their house on land after crashing into the shore. Look how close this ship is to this gentleman's house. It is lucky that the rock facing in front of his house kind of protected him a little bit, but it is literally like feet away from his house and would have demolished it had it impacted anywhere near him. The funny part about this whole story is he didn't even wake up. I don't know how that's possible, but he says that he didn't woke up until he woke up and he looked outside and there it was. Like the crash itself didn't wake him up. The officer who was in charge of navigating that cargo ship has been arrested after admitting to falling asleep at the wheel. Yeah, in case you're wondering about cruise ships, they always have 3 and 4 people on deck at all times navigating the cruise ships. Cargo ships, not the same animal. They work with skeleton crews quite often, and it's not unusual to have a solo person on watch during the sailing. Yeah. We'll see what happens if, oh, I feel sorry for that guy. Yikes. Imagine if that was a cruise ship. They would be screaming environmental hazard, etc. We got to ban cruise ships in Norway because of this. But because it's a cargo ship, you won't hear any of that because they need the cargo ships for obvious reasons. Next, let's talk about a couple, a British couple, a 23-year-old man, an 18-year-old woman who pushed past security and that getting off a cruise ship in Ibiza. And they were, rushed off the ship. And the crew was, what's going on? And they, of course, started checking around and found, the couple owed over £3,000 worth of bills unpaid on the cruise ship. The police were notified, and lo and behold, they found them at the Ibiza airport waiting for a flight to get on and were arrested and taken into custody. You tried to skip out on your bill instead of making arrangements for it. Now you're caught. You're going to have a lot more than just skipping out on the bill fines. You're going to have fines. You're going to have possible arrests. You're going to have a record, fraud charges. Yikes. Just wasn't worth it. Another outbreak on board. I hate covering this as we're getting ready to go into the summer season, but more and more ships are having outbreaks. This time it's on the Celebrity Apex, as they have just announced a deep cleaning that they need to do, and guests are no longer, please come 2 hours later to the cruise port and get on board, and it's going to be another deep cleaning and new rules on board, like in the buffet, they'll be serving you those kind of things under an abundance of caution, but there has been numerous accounts of gastronomical illness on board. So if you're on the Apex, just something to be aware of. Again, so many things, so many times I have to announce a gastronomical illness and an outbreak on board. It's almost becoming a daily thing now, and yikes. All right, let's talk about one cruise that has sold out, was hugely popular when Carnival announced it. And that was the Carnival Pride's leaving today from Baltimore round trip 14-day trip to Greenland. Normally you have to fly over to Europe to do these kind of trips or fly into Iceland or something. But no, this is a grand voyage 14-day trip, and they have 2 issues that they have just warned people about. One issue is that the itinerary right now, because of the weather there, it's just around, goes above freezing during the day and below freezing at night, which is causing a lot of ice. And not just ice, it's what they call sea ice. Now, sea ice is a big difference, because when you think of Greenland, one of the first things you think of is icebergs, and you can go and see beautiful icebergs. I mean, it was, to me, amazing. They see the colors and everything in the water on the day. And we were on a cloudy day, a rainy day. I can only imagine what this looks like in a sunny day when Tony and I went there. And it was just gorgeous to see these icebergs. And that's kind of what people expect, right? Icebergs. Icebergs can, yeah, that was the thing that hit the Titanic. That's the thing that sunk the Titanic. Cruise ships nowadays are much more equipped to handle, you know, avoiding icebergs. They're not going to sneak up on us like they did in the older days. However, sea ice is a different animal. That's what happens when ice breaks away. It freezes and then melts, and it causes these kind of lakes of sea ice, which, while it won't cause huge damage to a cruise ship, it can damage the hull, and it can force cruise ships to alter their itineraries because, you know, they don't want to have damage to the ship, or for some reason get stuck in sea ice, right? So yeah, they're not going to go, and they've already warned passengers on board that they may have to change the itineraries because of the amount of sea ice that has been forming in that area around Greenland. So I hope it doesn't interfere too much with the trip, but that is a possibility. And another warning went out to cruise passengers that may not have known this, but if you have mobility issues, you're in a scooter, a wheelchair, have a hard time getting around, well, Greenland is not really set up for mobility issues. There are a lot of fishing communities and small little communities in Greenland, and they're not set up for people in, you know, driving around in wheelchairs and scooters. And in fact, most of the stops there are all tenders. You have to get into a tender boat to be able to get to shore. Plus, they're all very hilly terrains, rocky crevices, lots of walking uphill. They're basically built along the sides of mountains and hills. So they did issue a warning saying, if you have mobility issues, be prepared. You may not be able to get off the ship, and you may not want to get off the ship, which kind of defeats the purpose of going to Greenland if you can't get off and head out and see the icebergs and places like that. So that's a little bit of a shame, but the last two stops are, I believe, in Canada, and those do have facilities to get off the ship. But the main highlight of this trip, of course, was Greenland. And yeah, if you have a scooter, you could be in for a lot more sea days than you thought you were going to have on board. So let me know in the comments down below, what do you think about waking up and seeing a cruise ship parked feet from your house? Would you be counting your lucky stars? I think I would, because could you just imagine now as a ship bursts through your living room wall or your bedroom wall? That, like, is only stuff of movies. Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.